According to the villagers' recollection, after this case occurred, the Criminal Police Detachment of the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau judged that the murderer should be a young and middle-aged man. So they conducted a thorough investigation of all the young and middle-aged villagers in Chunshu village and the nearby villages. Soon, the target was locked on Chu Yuku. Chu Yuku recalled that when the case happened, he had more than 40 pigeons at home, and 37 of them had been stolen. After a careful investigation, the police found that the victim Che Junying, her 7-year-old grandson, and 12-year-old granddaughter had all been hit on the head and face with a heavy blunt object. Che Junying had also been strangled with a rope around her neck, and her grandson had also been strangled with a cloth strip around his neck, resulting in brain damage and death. There were also signs that the suspect had sexually assaulted the little girl. Chu Yuku recalled that after being detained for 7 days, he was taken to the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau again, and continued to be asked to confess to the murder. Yuko said that later, the police realized they couldn't get anything out of him and asked him to confess to his thefts. After he confessed, he was sent to the detention center. He reported the case to the Criminal Police Detachment after the police investigated the scene. They suspected that he had deliberately set up a trap to avoid suspicion in the villagers' impression. Yuku had a reputation for being a bit of a thief in the village. He had a history of stealing and also had some conflicts with Che Junying. In the following 10 days, he was constantly questioned by the criminal police team. In order not to alarm the other families around during the crime, Yang Xinhai raised the iron axle in his hand and smashed the old lady twice, and then smashed the little boy on the head. Yang Xinhai saw that both the old lady and the little boy were motionless. Then he went to the west room and smashed the little girl on the head on the bed. Yang Xinhai had completely lost his humanity. He didn't think blood was scary anymore, and the painful and desperate looks of the victims couldn't arouse his sympathy. At this time, the murderer Yang Xinhai had already fled to the urban area a few dozens of miles away and was pretending to be okay while strolling in the mall. This tragic news immediately spread throughout the village, and people gathered around one after another while they were sighing about the misfortune that had befallen the Chi family. The siren of the police car shattered the tranquility of the small village. If he could steal them, he could get a large sum of money once he sold them. He wanted to temporarily change his target and steal aluminum from the purchasing station on this rainy night. Yang Xinhai waited until about 12 o'clock at night. The rain stopped, and he quietly crept to the outside of the purchasing station, just as he was looking for a place to start. He heard someone talking inside the purchasing station. He knew someone was on duty. He couldn't steal from the purchasing station at night. When the reporter met Wang Yao at the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau, he refused to explain the case of Chu Yuku. From then on, every family in the village was on tenterhooks at night. They didn't dare to leave their doors unlocked when sleeping. Moreover, many families took corresponding preventive measures. They raised their courtyard walls and strengthened their door bolts. The village also organized a night watch and patrol team, and the whole village entered a state of high alert. The old lady and a little boy were sleeping on a cot against the door. The little girl was sleeping on a wooden bed in the west room. Yang Xinhai took a look and squeezed into the room from the gap on the west side of the cot. He turned on his flashlight and saw the 10-year-old little girl sleeping on the bed against the north wall in the west room. There was nothing else to steal in the west room, except for 2 beds and some daily necessities for production, so he set his target on the little girl. From a courtyard without a wall by the village came the sound of children playing. Yang Xinhai perked up and quickly rode over. He stopped where he could see and stared from afar, watching a girl playing hide-and-seek with her younger brother in an instant. A sinful plan formed in his mind during the National Day on October 1, 2000. Fuyang City in Anhui presented a peaceful and joyous scene. Chen Ziming felt a bit strange because Junying was a hard-working old lady and wouldn't usually sleep in like this coincidentally. Qi Li, a distant nephew of Qi Junying, was about to go to the fields to work. He found that the tire of the wheelbarrow at home was flat and went to the neighbor's house to borrow one at this time. He also happened to come to Si Junying's door. Chen Zimin called Si He Li over and asked him to wake up his aunt. The two pushed open the door and walked over. Chu Yuku said that on November 27, 2003, the police came to the village and announced that the case had been solved. He met Wang Yao, the captain of the Criminal Police Detachment of the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau, who was in charge of this case at that time, and asked, "What about me now that the case is solved?" Wang Yao replied, "You were a suspect at that time, and now the suspicion has been completely cleared." The second person to take the blame for Yang Xinhai one noon in September 2000. A strange man on a bicycle came to Chunshu Village, Shaoying Village, Wangdian Town, Yingzhou District, Fuyang City. He was Yang Xinhai, wearing a somewhat crudely made but clean and tidy grey suit, with a bunch of red balloons printed with animal patterns fluttering on the bike rack. He didn't shout, nor did he have the hurry and urgency that a businessman should have. Yang Xinhai walked around the village and stole a 1-meter-long axle of a rickshaw from the door of a house. Without a courtyard wall, he held the axle in his hand and came to the little girl's door again. The little girl's family lived in the middle of the village. There were 3 main rooms without a courtyard gate. Since the weather was still quite hot, the door wasn't closed when they went to sleep, and there were 3 people sleeping in the main room. When the reporter saw the certificate of release from labor camp, shown by Chu Yuku, it stated that Chu Yuku had been sent to the labor camp on October 31, 2000, and was released on October 16, 2001, but in the villagers' eyes, he was still a murderer, and his return made the villagers even more frightened. Chu Yuku's son, Siu Jaxi, was in his 20s. Someone had proposed several marriage matches for him, but as soon as the other side heard that he was the son of a murderer, the matches fell through. In November 2003, after Yang Xinhai was arrested by the public security organs, the public security organs specially sent people to Chunshu village to inform the villagers of the news of solving the case. They explained to the villagers that this man was Yang Xinhai, a thief. He was only 1 meter and 60 centimeters tall when he saw the little granddaughter in Qi Junying's house. He wanted to ravish the little girl, so he used extremely cruel means to create this massacre. Although this test result didn't help the public security organs catch Yang Xinhai, it did help them quickly rule out a murder suspect who was taking the blame for Yang Xinhai during the subsequent investigation, preventing them from making more mistakes in handling the case. The sudden murder shocked the entire village of Chunshu. It brought great panic to people's hearts, although they didn't know who the murderer was for the time being. They knew the murderer was extremely cruel. That afternoon, despite the light rain, Yang Xinhai took a bus from Fuyang bus station to Wangdian Town, Yongzhou District, and began to implement his sinful plan. After getting off the bus in Wangdian Town, due to the heavy rain, he couldn't go to the place he had chosen for a while. So he found a place in Wangdian Town to take shelter from the rain. He found that there were many newly purchased aluminum products in the town's purchasing station. Coincidentally, when the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau of Fuyang City was investigating the case of the murder of Ki Junying and her family of 3, Chu Yuku, became the second person to take the blame for Yang Xinhai in a report published on Xinhua.net on February 2, 2004. The process before and after Chu Yuku's trial was described like this. During this period before, the police had tested his hair, semen, and saliva many times. But the test results definitely didn't match the hairs retrieved from the scene at this time. The police still couldn't confirm Chu Yuku as the murder suspects. Yuku recalled that in the 12th lunar month of 2000, 2 people came to the detention center and told him that he was being sent to a labor camp. Then he was sent to Baofeng labor camp in Anhui province to work in the brick kiln for most of the year. Among all the people in Chenshu village, 50-year-old Chu Yuku had the most complicated feelings towards the real murderer, because he had once been regarded as the one who had killed Ki Junying and her family of 3. Around 8 o'clock on the morning of October 2, 2000, Chun Semin, a villager in Chenshu village, Xiaoying village, Wangjian town, Yingjiao district, Fuyang city, went to his neighbor Xiao Junying's house in the east to borrow a bucket. He saw the door of the main room was open, and a cart was placed against the door. He shouted a few times, but no one answered. He thought the old lady had overslept and walked over to shout again, still getting no answer. Taking a closer look, there was blood under the bed, and on the quilt. The 3 people sleeping in the room had their heads covered with the quilt. The room was in a mess. They were greatly shocked and had a premonition that something bad had happened when they lifted the quilt. They were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. The head of 63-year-old Ki Junying was deformed and covered with blood. Her grandson and granddaughter had also died a tragic death. It wasn't until Yang Xinhai was arrested that he confessed that his main target of aggression during this trip to Chenshu village was the little girl playing hide-and-seek with her younger brother. Yang Xinhai walked all the way to the door of the little girl who was playing hide-and-seek with her younger brother and stopped, ready to commit the crime, but he clenched his fists and, seeing that he was unarmed, thought he still had to find a weapon to beat people with. During the on-site investigation, the police found that the victimized girl had grabbed more than a dozen hairs with her left hand, indicating that she had fought hard during the assault. 3 pubic hairs were also retrieved from the victim's bedmat. After forensic examination of these hairs, the blood type was all type B. This was the first time the public security organs had tested and recorded the items left by Yang Xinhai at the crime scene. It was a 6 or 7 mile journey from Wangdian town to Chanshu village, all winding and bumpy country dirt roads. It had been raining continuously for 2 days and 2 nights at that time. Yang Xinhai trudged through the mud out of Wangdian town and walked in the direction of Chanshu village. Xiaoying village. After the crime, no one could guess why the murderer had targeted this remote village. All he did was to satisfy his vulgar and base desires. In order to vent his momentary evil desire, he didn't hesitate to kill. After the cold-blooded Yang Xinhai killed the old lady and her little grandson, he had no fear at all. He rummaged through the pocket of the old lady's black exercise pants and found 7 yuan, then pulled the quilt over her body. After calmly finishing all this, he went back to the west room again and sexually assaulted the little girl's body. As we mentioned before, when the Zhaokou City Public Security Bureau was investigating the case of the murder of Yang Pimen and Shan Laning, a couple in Gaojiang village, Beijiao Township, Chuanhui District, they had wrongly announced externally that Yang Deli was the suspect in killing Yang Pimen and Shan Laning. In the villagers' impression, Kay Junying was very strong. Even an ordinary man couldn't compare with her. She could pick up a bag weighing more than 100 catties and run away with it. Now they heard that the man who had killed her was actually a thin and small man of 1 meter and 60 centimeters. The villagers still couldn't understand how Yang Xinhai had subdued Kay Junying. On the afternoon of October 11, 2000, he was taken to the Yingzhou District Public Security Sub-Bureau, according to CHU. He stayed in the basement for 5 days and 5 nights and was asked to confess to the murder. The police also searched his home and seized a homemade shotgun used for guarding the fish pond, and then detained him for 15 days on the charge of illegally possessing a firearm.